Are you looking for your next favorite read? How about a contemporary fiction, a father-daughter story? I actually read one contemporary fiction a few years back that was about a relationship between a grandfather and a grandson, and I love that book. Since then, I have been looking for books like these, and finally, it was in July 2021 that I found a book that I felt like would be similar to that book, and that is Farther by Chaitanya Desale. So, what is this book about? Is it good enough? What did I like about this book? What I didn't like about this book? That is all that I'm going to discuss in this review video. I'm so thankful to the author of this book for giving me a chance to read this book and experience it because I actually loved it. So let's just talk about the details, okay? So this book is actually about Manbir, who is a guy who has a lovely wife and a daughter who is almost a toddler. So there's his wife Nivya and his daughter Ruhi. Now Manbir wants to create India's first AI robot, and he's very ambitious and very driven towards this so that he can actually make a better life for his family. But would Manbir be successful in his ambition, or would he just lose himself in this process? The things become even more challenging as his lovely wife Nivya passes away suddenly, and due to this tragedy, Manbir is left all alone to take care of his daughter Ruhi. I am going to quickly dive into the review of this book, but before that, if you're watching me for the first time, hi, I'm Manpreet. I'm India's leading books YouTuber who helps people discover new books and develop the habit of reading. I make a lot of book reviews and recommendations on this channel, so if you're new here, please make sure you subscribe, follow me on my social media, and hit that bell button so that you get notified every time I post a new video. And if you are an existing subscriber, do subscribe to my weekly newsletter to get updates about all the content that I produce, and also some free resources and useful resources for you as a reader. So now let's talk about the plot of this book, Farther. So this plot just documents Manbir's journey, okay? His first attempts at making this AI robot and his ambition around this, and then this tragedy hits his life when Nivya dies, and then it's this father's struggle to stay close to his daughter, to ensure he raises his daughter well, and he just is able to fulfill his responsibilities towards his now family, his only remaining family, that is now his daughter Ruhi. Now, this is quite unlike the usual Indian books that I read, at least, because most of the Indian books that I read are short and crisp. And this is quite opposite to that. You can see the thickness of this book. This is more than 400 pages long, and the author has taken his time to dive into the whole life of Manbir and all the characters in the book. And the story is just elaborate, beautifully captured, and this was a very risky thing because the first time I came across this book, I was like, 400 pages? This could be very risky to read. What if I don't end up liking it? But then something in me said that, Manpreet, you have to try this story because I found this kind of story after a long time. So I read it, and trust me, from page one, every time my husband was asking me this because I had like very vocally expressed this insecurity about this book, and he was asking me, are you even liking it? And from page one, I loved everything about this book, the plot, the way everything has happened. I'll talk more about the characters and the writing style, but the whole book has been written so well. I ended up giving it 4.5 out of 5 stars. What else can I say about it? Because, it just is beyond my expectations. And really, the moment you begin with the book, it keeps you glued, it keeps you interested. And honestly, there was a time when it was hard to get me off of the book and tend to other chores that I had, because this was so interesting. Especially the last 150 pages were just amazing. Lastly, what I would say about this plot is that I am this person who reads a lot of mysteries and thrillers with a lot of elaborate plot and a lot of twists and turns. This one, even though it has its twists and turns and a very nicely built plot, this is still a very subtle book that is just surreal to read. I just liked it so much. It's just a feel-good read, even though the story is a little bit tragic. Now, without further rambling about how much I liked the whole book, Let's talk about the characters. So there is Manbir, and obviously you get to know a lot about Manbir because that's the main character you follow. There's his wife Nivya, who wants to be a writer, who wants to be a poet, and there's his toddler daughter Ruhi, who you get to know as she grows up in the book, right? And then there is this character Danny, who is sort of like the villain of the story. But here's the thing: the author has given him a backstory and layers that it just becomes difficult to hate Danny, even when he is this vile, hateful person. It just gets difficult to just hate Danny. And even after I've read the book and it has been a few days, I'm just still thinking about Danny, and I just still could not get myself to hate Danny even when I hated him. It's just such a conundrum. Then there are more characters in the book, like Manbir's family, Manbir's colleagues, Manbir's friends, and all of these characters play a nice role in the book. One of his friends is actually a very comic character in the book. I mean, he doesn't do comedy or anything, but the things he does, it makes you laugh. So overall, I loved all of the characters in the book, even like Danny's family and everybody in the book. It's just a really good thing to read. All of them have layers and colors, and are interesting people to know. Now, the writing style of the book. Now, the book, the language, and the style is actually very easy, which makes it accessible to even wider audience. And I would recommend it to anybody above the age of 12 to 13. Anybody can read this book. The only caveat about this book is that it is just double the length of a usual English novel you will find from Indian authors. But like I said, I had those reservations myself, and I'm just like, Manpreet, you should stop even like seeing at the length of the books, because you could have missed an amazing book like this just because you had those reservations. So I would just say, just get that off of your mind, that this is 400 plus pages long, and just read this book once. I'm sure you are going to love the experience of reading this book. And by now you already know Manpreet loved this book, right? But as a reviewer, it's my responsibility to point out a few things that I did not like about the book. I feel like the overall book was amazing, but there were just like factual things in the story. I mean, inside the story's world. For example, Manbir's education. In the beginning of the book, there is a different explanation to what he has studied, and then in the later part of the book, the education thing got me confused a little bit. And there are more instances like this which get you a little bit confused, right? Even though there's a lot of robotics part and all that, so that takes a little bit of imagination and acceptance from you as a reader for you to believe in what happens in the story. Okay, as long as the robotics part, the whole human relationships part, that is just amazing. But how he works on robots as a robotics engineer. So he works with this company, and in the course of his professional life, he is developing robots and talking about it quite a lot of times in the book. And just believing all of that is something that takes a little bit of imagination and acceptance, but otherwise this book was really amazing. Overall, I think Father is an amazing contemporary fiction that documents life of a father as he follows his ambition and then loses a very dear person to him, and then is left with the responsibility of taking care of his toddler daughter, while he also has this job that he has to keep to make sure he puts bread on the table. This story, Father, has emotions, relationships, jealousy, love, and ambition. This is actually the debut book of the author, and I'm just amazed what a beautiful job he has done with this book. I am definitely looking forward to read more books by this author. And ultimately, I gave this book 4.8 out of 5 stars. I put it to 4.5 just to make things easier, but it's definitely between that. Okay, 4.5 to 4.8. It's just that good. So do check out this book. I'll link down below in the description if you want to purchase this book from my affiliate links. And yes, that is what I think about this book. I really hope this review helps you out to understand the kind of book this is and helps you make your decision. And yes, thank you so much for watching this video. This is Manpreet signing off. I'll be back with another video very soon.